through the upcoming enhancements we have planned, go through those in more detail. So first, just kind of show an updated design that we're looking at. Not too many drastic changes, but I think small and powerful changes that will really, help you guys out based on the feedback we're getting. It's really a more simplified view. We've heard feedback that the old view, I guess we'll still call it the old view for now. The old view was clunky, so I think a lot of the clunkiness came from the day line headers, the gray day line headers. So when you looked at the day, you had the day totals at the top, and then you had the time entries underneath it. So we've kind of moved that around. We've actually moved the totals down to the bottom, so you have a logical flow from the top to the bottom, and then your hours are totaled at the bottom. We've also removed the gray day line when the day is expanded, so that it kind of removes that clunkiness and has a clean look. Also, what you can notice is on the left-hand side, we moved the date column and the action column. So really all of your pertinent information for the timesheet and the time entry is right there on the left. So you can review the schedule along with the time entries right next to it, and then you can perform certain actions on the time entries, whether it's delete a time entry, add a new time entry, or manage exceptions right there. Also, if you look down towards the bottom of the new design, so we still do want to keep that expand and collapse functionality. I'll get more to that later, but it does still add some value, even though some people might not want to expand or collapse at all. We're going to make that completely configurable, that behavior, but we're still going to leave that behavior there in case people do still want it. So you can see we can still collapse the days. When the days are collapsed, we can display the schedules. We actually introduced a new hover option where you can hover over the schedule icon to see what the schedule is for the day when that day is collapsed. All right, so that's kind of just a high-level overview of some of the improvements we're looking at. And I guess forgot to kind of highlight the timesheet metrics there at the top. That's what's coming out here in February. So you can see those metrics right there at the top. All right. Also, we're introducing a new compact view that really allows us to maximize the real estate on the screen and try to reduce scrolling as much as possible. So really what that entails is we really want to dynamically recalculate the size of the timesheet and the columns to make sure that the columns aren't too wide or they aren't too narrow depending on what data is in that column and in those fields. So we're really introducing some logic there to make it smarter to recalculate those fields. And then again, we're moving the day totals to the bottom of the day so that we have more of a logical flow from top to bottom with the totals. Also, we're reducing the size of a lot of the different areas within the timesheet. So the field height, we're reducing that down to 28 pixels instead of 34, shrinking the font down from 14 to 12. And then the icon size, shrinking it down to 14 pixels from 18. And then we're also reducing the padding between the fields as well. So really allows us to maximize the space and reduce scrolling. That's kind of the end goal there. All right, and then also alluded to it earlier a little bit, how we're moving the schedules and actions over to the left-hand side. So for those that are familiar with the timesheet right now, the schedule and action columns, those are actually on the right-hand side. Those are fixed columns on the right-hand side. We're actually moving those over to the left, so they're closer to the time entries, and it really allows your eyes to kind of just focus on the time entries and schedules and the actions right there on the left-hand side in one place. We're also making that date and action column, those first two columns on the left, we're going to make those fixed. So if you have a lot of columns that extends past the screen on the right, when you scroll to those, you will still be able to see which day you're working on, what are the schedules, and then you still have easy access to those actions if you need to perform any actions on those entries. And then again, at the bottom, we have the hover option to hover over the schedules for the day if that day is collapsed, and then you could actually click on those if you needed to edit the schedule right from the timesheet as well. So that kind of highlights the main improvements and enhancements that we have coming in the next couple releases. So we're really excited about those. Those are the main highlights. We do have some other areas we're focused on as well. Just want to make sure we don't lose sight of them. So the changes we're incorporating, I know we were focusing mostly on the time entry tab and the screenshots, but all those changes will also apply to all the other tabs in the timesheet as well. So the calc detail, extra pay and counter adjustment tabs, all those changes would be incorporated there as well. Also in the bulk timesheet, the cost center and time off columns on the left-hand side, those will be fixed. So if you scroll to the right, if you have a lot of days in your timesheet, if it's a bi-weekly pay period, for example, when you scroll to the right, all those columns will still be fixed on the left-hand side, so you don't lose visibility of those. And then also the time entry interpretation for manual entry to match the classic timesheet. We've seen some gaps there when entering time entries in the new timesheet. It doesn't follow the same logic, so we're really looking at that to make sure we have full parity with the classic timesheet. And then lastly, recalculate the timesheet on exception change. So currently we have the exceptions within a pop-up that are more closely associated with the day and the time entries. So within that pop-up, when you do make a change or make an edit and you close that pop-up, we're actually going to have the timesheet automatically recalculated. So it takes into account that change instead of having to close out the pop-up and then go save the timesheet.